I wanted to tell you a little story about the Book of Mormon. Actually, it's kind of a long story, but it's an exciting one. We're going to talk about 3 different people that came to the Promised Land. There were the Nephites and Lamanites, which you know a lot about. There are the Jaredites, which we read about in the Book of Ether. And there are the Mulekites that we don't know very much about. They were not a good record-keeping people. They all landed in the Promised Land somewhere in Central America about the Yucatan Peninsula. Let's start with the Jaredites. Their story is found in the Book of Ether, which is towards the end of the Book of Mormon. They were clear back in the year 2200 BC. That's a long time ago, 1600 years before all the rest of the Book of Mormon took place. They lived at the Tower of Babel, which you'll find in the Bible. The people of that time wanted to climb up a tower to get to heaven instead of being righteous to get to heaven. The Lord did not like that at all. So he decided to confound all their languages so that they would give up building this tower. The Jaredites pled with the Lord, please don't change our language, don't confound us. The Lord answered their prayers, and he taught them to build big barges that were tight like unto a dish, and they sailed. And they sailed all the way to the Promised Land. Many, many years later, they fought so much, over 1600 years, that they all died and they were left in a big land of bones. The only one left was Coriantumr. He was the last one left, and the prophet told him he would see all the destruction of his people. Oh no. He was the last one left, and we will hear from him later. Next, we're going to talk about the Nephites. You remember that story from the beginning of the Book of Mormon. It started clear back in Jerusalem in 600 BC. The people were pretty wicked. This is Jerusalem. Good city, huh? The Lord told Lehi to take his family and sail into the wilderness to go to the Promised Land. So Nephi and Lehi and their family sailed all the way to the Promised Land, and they landed in the city of Lehi Nephi. They were very happy there for quite a while, but it soon got worse. Well, Laman and Lemuel's people become so intolerable and so awful to live with that Nephi and the righteous people who are willing to go with him decide to travel away and hide because the Lord told them to. They establish the city of Nephi. It's a lovely place, and they lived there for 285 years. We talk about the book of Nephi, Jacob, Enos, Jerem, Omni during this time. They're there for a long time. While they are happily living in the city of Nephi, they have a king named King Mosiah. The people begin to get very wicked again. You know how they do that. The Lord tells Mosiah, you need to take the righteous people and depart. So Mosiah and all the righteous people, they arrive in the city of Zarahemla. Now the city of Zarahemla already had people. Where did they come from, you might ask? Well, I will tell you. Also in Jerusalem, right after Lehi's family left, Jerusalem gets destroyed. Oh dear. So Mulek was one of King Zedekiah's sons. Zedekiah was the king at the time. They poked Zedekiah's eyes out. They killed his other son. But Mulek, the Lord warned to leave, and he ran away. He ran with the other people who believed him, and they called them the Mulekites. Well, the Lord instructed them to sail to the Promised Land too. So the Mulekites all came. And guess where they came? They landed in the Promised Land and built the city of Zarahemla. It was a pretty cool city. And do you remember the Jaredites? Well, the last of the Jaredites was Coriantumr, who had to see the people. He got to live in the city of Zarahemla for about 9 months before he died. They had a good time in Zarahemla. The Mulekites didn't bring any written record with them. Pretty soon their language started to change. After a few hundred years, their language had changed so much that when Mosiah got there, they couldn't even understand what the Mulekites were saying. So King Mosiah teaches all the Mulekites the language, and they are so happy because he brought the brass plates with them that Nephi brought. Yay! Now, after a while, some of the people in King Mosiah's time decide they want to go back to the city of Nephi where they came from. I don't know why. Maybe they miss their friends or something. So a group of people decide to walk clear out of the Nephite land, clear back down to the city of Nephi. Well, they send some spies over there and think, this looks like a really good place. I don't know why we left. This was awesome. So they come back and say, let's go in and destroy them and take their lands. No. Zeniff, a man that's very righteous, says, this is a terrible idea. I don't think we should kill them. I think we should go in and ask about a treaty. But instead, they fight. They kill all of the people that came down with them, all except for 50. Well, they decide they can't make a decision, so they decide to go back up and have to tell the wives and the children of all these people who died. Guess what we did? We had a big fight. We killed each other. But Zeniff knew that the land was good, and he wanted to go back down there with some people. So Zeniff, he goes in and says, King Laman. Oh, I have one of those. He says, King Laman, we want to live here with your people. Can we stay here with you? King Laman says, sure you can. But actually, King Laman wants to make them his slaves. So he says, sure. Why don't you come live in the city of Nephi, and we'll give you also the city of Shiloh. How nice was that? Now, back in the city of Zarahemla, Mosiah had become old. He died. He made his son, King Benjamin, the new king. King Benjamin was awesome, and he gave some of the best words in the Book of Mormon that we have to read about the plan of salvation. Good job, King Benjamin. King Benjamin becomes old, and as his son, also named Mosiah, they must like that in their family, he becomes the new king. Now the people in Zarahemla start teasing him. What happened to all those other people who a long time ago went down to the city of Nephi? And they started teasing him. He didn't like that very much. So he decided to find out. So, back in the city of Zarahemla, Mosiah sends a very strong man named Ammon back down to see if he can find the people of Zeniff that left there a long time ago. So, he comes down here and he finds King Limhi. This was a descendant of Zeniff, and he says, who are you? And he even's going to throw him in jail and kill him. But Ammon says, don't kill me. I came from Zarahemla. And Limhi said, Zarahemla? That's awesome. Maybe you can help us out of the mess we're in. I have an amazing story to tell you. Here it goes. So, this is where the Book of Mormon gets a little complicated for some people because it keeps jumping around a story. But King Limhi is going to tell Ammon all about what happened. Now you remember our buddy Zeniff? He came down here. He made a treaty with King Laman. Can I stay in your land? Laman says, sure. Go ahead, build a really nice land. So they did. They planted a bunch of crops. They got flocks and herds. They built up an awesome city. And they were there for about 12 years. All was good. But then King Laman dies. Rope. His son takes over, and his son says, ooh, these people are getting a little bit too rich, a little bit too strong. They are good people. We need to make sure they're our slaves now. So they have a big war. And a whole bunch of people died. But Zeniff was a man of God. He prayed. And in one day, they killed 3,000 of the Lamanites that attacked them, while only 279 of them were killed. Well, it was a little bit sad time since they lost some of their friends. And things got worse. They kept coming back and trying to destroy them again and again. They had the same old story that back in the day, Nephi's family robbed them of the brass plates and they were taught to hate them. They took the leadership. They did not like them. So he keeps stirring them up to go to war again in the city of Nephi and Shiloh, where these guys live. Well, Zeniff sends some people home to see if he can find the city of Zarahemla and go back. They start coming, and instead, they get a little bit lost. Some people are not good with directions. And he finds the land of bones. Zarahemla must be dead. So he comes back here, and he decides, we got to make this work with the Lamanites. Well, during this time, our buddy Zeniff dies, and his son's name is Noah. Now, Noah is not a very nice man. fact, Noah is a very wicked man. He changes all of the leaders that Zeniff made there and said, I'm going to put in wicked people. And he taxed his own people a whole bunch of money so that he could live in ease and sin. And he got all of his priests to do a lot of bad things too. Well, the Lord was very unhappy about all this sinning happened to a people that he had protected. And he sent a prophet into the land. The prophet's name was Abinadi. Well, Abinadi comes. He says, King Noah, you're doing terrible things here. Nobody should be doing the things you're doing. And all the priests of wicked King Noah listened to him and decided, let's kill him. We don't want to hear his message. So, of all things, they burned poor Abinadi at the stake. Oh. But before he died, he said, this is going to happen to you too, King Noah. Whatever you do to me is going to come back to you. But King Noah doesn't care. He doesn't listen. But one of his priests, Alma, he does listen. He said, I think Abinadi's right. So he tells King Noah, I think Abinadi had a point here. You should maybe listen to him. We are doing really wicked things. What do you think King Noah did? Oh, well, let's kill Alma too then. So Alma, he takes the people, or he runs and hides, and some of the people listen to Alma. He writes down all the words of Abinadi. They like his words. He takes them to the waters of Mormon. You can pretend there's waters of Mormon here. He baptizes a whole bunch of people. Well, the Lord said to Alma, King Noah's people are coming to kill you. So he took 450 people that believed him and were baptized, and they fled to the land of Helam. Now, this was a very unfortunate time to have all these problems where King Noah lived. It divided the people. Some of them thought, you were a little too rough on those priests. You were a little rude, and killing prophets is definitely wrong. They began to fight among each other. Well, right about the time they were going to slay King Noah, they saw that the Lamanites were coming back. Uh-oh, they're going to get destroyed. The people decide to burn King Noah at the stake. Remember? Abinadi said that was going to happen. Blanc. So he's dead, and all of his wicked priests, we're going to run away before they kill us too. So his wicked priests go and hide. So after King Noah, remember him, died, King Limhi is his son, and that's the one that Ammon runs into. Well, King Limhi is a righteous man. He did not do the bad things that his father did, and he was made ruler. The Lamanites did come. They did make them slaves. They said, if you behave yourselves and you do everything we tell you to, your people will be just fine. So he's living there in bondage, but it's not too bad. They have to give a lot of stuff to the Lamanites, but they can deal with it. Then a really unfortunate thing happens. There were a bunch of daughters of the Lamanites that came from the city. They used to like to go to a land called Shemlon, and they would dance and sing and make themselves merry. Ah, good times. But do you know who saw them? The wicked priests of King Noah saw them, and they had a great plan. Let's kidnap 24 of them. They came and kidnapped the girls, and away they went. Well, this made the king of the Lamanites really mad, and they come in and start killing all of the people of King Limhi. He said, don't kill us. Why are you killing us? We're doing everything you told us to do. And he said, because you stole our 24 daughters. You are going to die for that. And he said, no, it wasn't us. Remember those really bad priests? I think it was them. So the killing stopped. So now after this big slaughter, King Limhi is very sad. His people are very sad. They have gone through heck. They have had a very, very bad time here in the city of Shiloh. The Lamanites become even meaner to them. Not only do they make them perform tasks, but they whip them and hurt them and are rude about the whole thing. So Limhi decides, we're going to have to do something. Well, this is right about the time that Ammon shows up, and he thinks Ammon is one of those wicked priests who caused all these problems. So he takes him by bands and says, who are you? And when Ammon says, guess what? I'm from Zarahemla. He went, yay! We want to go back to Zarahemla. Can you help us out of this mess? Ammon thinks about it and says, I got a grand idea. You know how you make grapes and wine for all the Lamanites? let's make a bunch and get them drunk. So they do. They make a whole bunch of wine, get them blasted drunk. The Lamanites are asleep, drunk, blasted drunk. And King Limhi, all his people, Ammon, they all go back to Zarahemla. Mosiah, too, is still the king. Hey, we like you. Hey, we're back. We found him. We want to be your people. Well, the Lamanites quit being drunk. They woke up the next morning and went, hey, where's all of our slaves? Dang. So they go out to look for them. They do not know which way they went. And they come over, and guess who they found? They said, hey, will you tell us where the city of Zarahemla is so we can go find our people? And Alma says, sure, it's right over that way. And they went, never mind, now you're our slaves. Now, here we are again. The city of Zarahemla is very happy. It's hopping with a bunch of people. They all have stories to tell. This is what's happening in the book of Mosiah. And they're all good, all except for one group of people. Do you remember who's not here? Our buddy Alma. He's the one that believed the words of Abinadi. Well, they had run off and found a land that was called Helam, and they were there, but the Lamanites found them. Not only were they very upset to find more people out there, and they had lost all their slaves, so they wanted some new ones, they had put the very wicked priests who had married their daughters and now were part of them, they put them in charge of them. Well, Alma was one of them, if you do recall, and they did not like him any. A lot of problems had happened when he left. So they beat them, they hurt them. The Lamanites said, you can't kill him, but you can do whatever else you want to him. And they did. They were terrible to them. The people of Alma prayed, and the Lamanites said, stop it, can't pray anymore. So they said, we'll just pray in our hearts. So they did. They prayed a lot, and the Lord delivered them. He caused a deep sleep to come upon all those wicked priests, all the Lamanites, and they just walked themselves right out of there and went to Jerusalem to be with everybody else. It's a party! So now this gets you up to Mosiah 25. All the people are in Zarahemla that are Nephites. All of the people that are in the city of Nephi that are Lamanites. They're part in their lands. So far, so good. I know it gets confusing with all their stories, but their stories are really cool. Those are fun stories to read.